Yo. It's Grapsody with Will, Phil, and Reg, trying to keep it real instead of what you usually get from these talking heads. It's Grapsody, we're here to fill the void. 3 black fans, different perspective, got to fill your voice. Coming with the podcast, talking majors, indies in between. Yeah, it's all that, and we're down with Fightful, better fall back. Coming for respect, we connect like a ball bat. No need to double check, these are all facts. You're listening to us talk raps. You're listening to us talk raps. Will, Phil, and Reg. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps. Yeah.
Hey, shout out. I will say that this whole setup has improved so much since we started Grapsody, because one of my biggest pet peeves about doing shows on this platform is that when you run videos like intros and things like that, up until last week, there was no actual sync bar. There was no way to tell when the video is about to be over. And it's like, I know the Grapsody intro, so I know when it's going to be over. But if we ever had to like run any other clips, I basically had to know the clip to know it's like, all right, now we're coming back. And they finally added a little bar to show you the progress of how much longer the video has.
Oh my God, that one time must have been so stressful. With the videos, when you chop it up. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had to know the length of the video when we ran it, and then know the exact length, know what time I started it, to know when it was time for the next one. Like, extremely stressful. Oh. And now it is all good. They have improved so much. That is such a difference maker. Welcome to Grapsody, by the way, folks. I am Will Washington. I am one member of this trio, but I'm not alone here, because also
you were not alone. You were not alone. Shout out to Michael Jackson.
Shout out to Michael Jackson.
Death anniversary is coming up, I think, in June.
Yeah, coming up in June. Yeah, that was one of the few times I've cried in public.
That day was so surreal. Like, I think like
people, MJ, man. Like
people talk a lot about Michael Jackson and things that happen, but they don't understand, like, as a black person, the stranglehold that he had on all of our existence. So like, he was like, when they say an icon, like a lot of people are called icons, but this guy was like on another level.
It's levels to it, bro.
Let me tell you. Okay, I have never told the story on Grapsody, and I think people have heard this story if they listen to RBR literally 13 years ago. But I remember I was in a cricket store, because I had cricket at the time, and I had my phone shut off for, like, this is how broke I was, by the way, back at that time. My phone had been shut off. 2009. 2009, I had nothing, and I was still in school at the time, and I had actually had college classes that night, but I was in the process of getting my phone cut back on, right? So I'm standing in the cricket store, and I'm waiting, and just ready to get my phone cut on. And then they had the radio on in the background, and I was like maybe half paying attention to it. And I remember they had said on the radio, they were like, TMZ has confirmed that he has died. And I was like, wait, what? And I run over to the counter, and I grab the employee, and I'm like, who are they talking about right now on the radio? And they were like, I said, they just said somebody died. And it was a lady, and she goes, I think Farrah Fawcett, because Farrah Fawcett had just died that same day, right? And they were like, I think it's Farrah Fawcett. And I was like, no. They said he. And we both start listening. And they were like, and they keep not saying the name of who it was. And so I'm like, who are they talking about? Because they keep saying he, and they're very serious. And they're like, they found him in his home. And TMZ confirmed as of just 5 minutes ago, it is now confirmed that he has died. And then I'm like, but who is he? And then they said the King of Pop. And I'm like, please tell me for this 1 minute, somebody else just jacked the name King of Pop for like this, just 10 seconds. Tell me somebody else is just riding those coattails right now, just for a minute. And then they were like, Michael Jackson has died. And then they played Billie Jean right there. And me and the employee just looked at each other, like tears start streaming, and we're like, what the hell? And then and then of course they cut my phone on immediately after. And the biggest Michael Jackson fan I know is my boy Theron Reynolds, T. And as soon as my phone cuts back on, it rings immediately. And I look at the caller ID. It's him. I answer, and we're just silent. And he just and it was pouring rain at the time. And he's like, there's a reason it's raining right now. And I'm like, yep. And that day was just... And I still had to go to class later that day, and everybody in class is just talking about it. We're all just sitting around like, damn, Mike's gone. What the hell? We thought that guy was going to live forever. We thought he was really Peter Pan. And that didn't happen.
Traumatic day.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting I'm the oldest on this podcast. So I wasn't in school that day. I was at work, and I had a sign on my desk that had just simply, he made Thriller, man. He made Thriller.
He made Thriller. Why y'all tripping? He made Thriller, bro. Yeah.
That's right. You're 2 years older than me. Yeah. So you would have been well done. Yeah. I like I said, I was in college at the time. So that
Well
was
done.
Yeah,
Shout out to Well Done, too. Rest in peace.
I am absolutely well done.
Yeah, that's right. I guess I'm the rarest of the bunch here. We got Reg Medium. But, folks, Grapsody. It's a Saturday. There's a lot to talk about.
There's no news at all. Nothing happened this week.
Nothing happened.
The shortest week.
All right. I have to say, this was a week in... I don't know what got into me this week, but I just wasn't in the mood this week. And I definitely had a couple of tweets this week that I will tell you, I tend to type out stuff a lot and then just like backspace on it. And I'm like, it's not worth it. Especially when I recognize that especially when I recognize that if I do it, it's going to result in a pile-on. And so for the most part, I tend to like back off. But this week, I just wasn't feeling it. There was one particular...
It was a lot of people not feeling it this week.
Yeah. There's like one particular asshole who... I'm not going to drop his name. He's not worth it. But he tends to just spout off bullshit. And of course, after the topic we're about to get into of Sasha and Naomi, he has some shit to say, particularly about black people. And I was like, nope, not going to let this one slide. And I decided to come at him, and everybody else did. And it made Wrestle cringe. And it was I don't know. And then yesterday, the dude who was basically like, he said, I did extensive research, and I've never seen Swerve and Keith Lee tagging
I saw his research.
Yeah, Swerve and Keith Lee tagging on the indies, and I was like, extensive, and literally type in Swerve, Keith Lee on YouTube, and like, before you even get AEW results, you get literally everything else they did.
Extensive. How extensive, dude? You didn't Google. No, his extensive was just looking in the sky being like, have they ever tagged together? Nope, that's it. No, you have to do research, real research, not research you made up.
Yeah, listen, man. I feel like this was a very interesting week for us collectively. I've just been watching stuff that I don't like, man. And there's a lot of stuff that I don't like. And I won't get into why I don't like it. I won't get into a calling people out or certain things like that.
Oh, I forgot about so much.
I'm like, since last week, since legit, I
forgot about
podcast last week. It's been.
I forgot about some of the other shit. I forgot about the stuff from like early this week.
So I will just say this, and I said this, I think, on our second episode. We are not the Black Wrestling Podcast. There are so many great Black Wrestling podcasts out here. I shouted them out on our second episode because, man, I want all of us to win. It isn't about this podcast being, the be-all Black Wrestling podcast. I just don't believe in that. There's room for everybody. Everybody has different perspectives. We have different perspectives. We're here for a reason. With that said,
Hold on, I want to piggyback on that really quick because before... I want to keep it positive for a second.
No, all of this was positive. I wasn't going negative.
Well, I wasn't sure what you were gonna say. Like with that said, because there was.
With that said, fuck them niggas. That's where Phil was going.
I was gonna say that that if anybody in the world has ever had the thought that we individually, collectively, have ever tried to cut down or harm another wrestling podcast, another Black wrestling podcast, especially. Not a chance.
Please.
That's not what we do.
That's one thing I'm not going to do. I'll flame WWE all day. I'll live my life flaming WWE.
We'll flame some other people's opinions because there's some trash opinions out
there. Right,
here,
absolutely. And that's what it's all about, man. That's what I said. Beef with takes. I don't...
With that said, I just think it's very interesting that
That's gonna be Phil's t-shirt. I just think
With
it's
that-
very interesting.
yes.
I just think it's very interesting that there are a lot of people claiming number one out here, and there are a lot of people that, you know, are throwing sideways things at us. Look, I don't believe that we can say we're number one, you know, because it's kind of like giving yourself a nickname. You can't just give yourself a nickname.
Nah.
I don't believe we can say we're number one. Our audience says we're number one. If you guys say we're number one, we're not going to reject that. You know, so like, again, we're not the wrestling podcast, but if y'all want to give us that number one spot, your boys ain't going to reject it.
Listen, we're on Reddit doing dummy numbers. Like, I go on there and I'm like,
Listen,
wait, we
don't-
are doing dummy numbers out here. That video on Twitter, that's just like, oh, here's a
We
quick
don't
50,000 on
we don't have to
just
say
got
we're
this
out
shit,
here, bro.
you know?
Again, if you have to tell people you're out here, then you're not really out here. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
So I do want to address the thing from last week that I in reporting some stuff that had
Dummy
ended up
numbers.
in my phone, I had thrown in some conjecture. And the two got conflated, and I saw people printing my personal conjecture as the story. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I opened that sentence with "it sounds like," and then I even afterward I said, "but I'm not sure." And that part got printed as like a lot of people picked up on that part of it. When like the story was like I was willing to at least report what I was texted. The other part of it was just my conjecture, and I was reached out to let me know that was not correct. That I've actually had a few talks with AEW this week about just conversations that have been going on social media. I'll say this also. Well, I'm not going to knock other black wrestling podcasts. I never will. I will knock whack reporters, and I'll say this: that if you if you consider yourself a reporter, and but you also did not follow up on certain things that took place this week, then you don't deserve the title. And what I mean by that is there were people who didn't. A lot of good people did follow up, because I'll tell you, not a reporter. Took me 10 seconds to get the answer. But on the Bryan Danielson stuff with his leg, right, and getting trapped in the stage and all of that, it took 10 seconds to find out what actually happened there. And as far as the people to ask, you could the AEW's got PR. There's a lot of people you could have asked about that. There's wrestlers there who are very willing to answer all of that. And most of the good ones out there got the right answer, and we're like, okay, we know what this was now. But once
the video came out.
Yeah, but there were a few who continued to run with the idea that he was trapped for 10 minutes, that it was a staged disaster, blah, blah, blah. And, like, that didn't happen.
Nah, man.
And, yeah, like I said, because, like, the night I waited. So I saw the first video, and I'm like, that doesn't really tell me anything, so I'm going to wait to say anything. Although, shout out to a couple of my friends who were in that video, because I know a bunch of people in Houston who went to that show. And I could see him in the video of Brian wincing in pain, but I'm like, that looks a lot like the way Brian sells. So either he sells really well and takes actual pain the same way he sells, or like, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait to say something. And then a second video cropped up, and that's when I was like, okay, there's a video of him walking off on his own and flipping off Eddie Kingston. That's the one I shared. And then maybe like half hour later, I reached out and got some confirmation on what exactly happened there. And I'm like, all right, I'll save it for after Rampage to actually say anything about it. But I feel like it'll make sense to people afterward. And like I said, I don't think there was any harm in that running wild on Twitter and people speculating what happened and people feeling like, oh my God, is Brian okay? Because that's pro wrestling. That's actually the way it should be, right? Where something happens. No,
pro wrestling should be 20 house show matches in 20 days. That's all. Pro wrestling is about theater. because like you're with one actor and you guys keep doing the same lines. And actually, pro wrestling is like a pitcher and a catcher. You want to get familiar with that same catcher.
Oh my
No,
God.
pro wrestling is different than every single fucking example you guys use. It's not like music. It's not like, no, there's 500 different wrestlers. You interact with all 500 of them, not the one. There's a million of them. All these examples they're not the same as pro wrestling. And also, them house shows don't mean shit. Imagine a show
Okay,
that has even lower
Reg,
stakes than
Reg.
the regular shows have.
Reg, hold up. Because now
sorry,
we're talking
man.
about two different things for a sec.
Listen, man.
You at least have to
a lot
provide
going on this week, bro.
Yeah, hold on, Reg. You at least have to provide context for, especially for our YouTube viewers who aren't.
Oh, they might
on
not
Twitter.
know. Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
Okay. Context.
Off the announcement last night that Cody Rhodes was gonna wrestle The Miz again. That was his first match back. Now he's already into a rematch. I had to go to Cage Match because I love going to Cage Match to see. I use Cage Match for research for PWI articles, whatever. I go to see what matches Cody Rhodes has had.
You'd be
here.
surprised, by the way, how many people in creative positions in pro wrestling, in major companies, and I'm talking WWE, Impact, AEW, use Cage Match.
Match, dude.
To
Everything.
Check everything to make sure that, little things. If it's like, it had these guys, even if they just want statistics for like a line on commentary of have these guys wrestled before, they're using Cage Match for that. It's great. It's a really great resource.
It's the best. So I went to Cage Match to see these Cody Rhodes, what he's been doing here. And you go down his fucking page since he's been back, and it's just Cody Rhodes defeats Seth Rollins here in Alabama. Cody Rhodes defeats Seth Rollins in fuck Alabama Part 2. Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins. There's like, I said 20, but there's legit 13 matches of them just going back and forth. So I got into, I'm saying like, what's the point of this? House shows are fucking stupid. And everybody's like, but in 1985, fucking Coco Beware and Bruno Senmart. Yo, I don't want to hear about fucking 1985, bro. Tell me about something that happens these days. Life is different. Everything is different. Independent wrestling ain't doing the bullshit you guys talking about. They're not putting two guys together and having them tour the fucking country. No, they're putting them with different guys. WWE has burned your guys' fucking brains, dude. WWE has fucked up your mentals. That's where I'm ending with this. And I'm sorry, I was a part of that too, but I drank some water, a lot of water, and I forgot about it.
I'll say this because I've seen the point.
You're trying to sell me on a house show? I think that's the thing. I've been to Bakersfield used to get 2 house shows a year, so I've been to like 20 million in a row, and they're awful. And whatever you guys are trying to sell me on, it's just not true. I've been there. I saw them with my own. I saw Big Show and Kane have legit #1, the worst match I've ever seen in my entire life. I've seen 5 million worst match I've ever seen at a fucking house show because they don't give a fuck. This means nothing.
This is what I was going to say about the argument being made in the favor of running the same match at house shows. Because I see the point that's being made that people are like, well, if they get the reps in together, that they actually
This ain't NXT. This is Cody fucking Rhodes and Seth Rollins. They don't need reps, bro.
Well, this is what I was going to say. So when people say they're like, they get the reps in together, it makes them more comfortable with each other, and it makes for a better match on television. Fully disagree with that for 2 reasons. One, we have seen that that's not the case. That actually, there have been times where guys who have never worked together have produced some absolute magic.
Yeah, last night there was a rematch of that on SmackDown. Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura worked one time at NXT, and it was top 5, one of the best matches I've ever seen live.
I mean, they've worked a few times since then.
But
I'm saying that's the first one.
But he's talking about the first one is the best one. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And then
definitely.
also, still talking WWE here, I always think about what pay-per-view event was that? No Mercy 2017, where it was supposed to be. Right,
Sacramento.
So remember, it was supposed to be Bray Wyatt versus versus Finn Balor, and the match ended up not happening because Bray Wyatt got sick, and so last second they called in AJ Styles and Finn Balor.
That was TLC.
Yeah, that
TLC.
was different. I'm like, I'm not.
It was
Really.
TLC. That's right, TLC. So yes, you're right, TLC. And so AJ Styles, Finn Balor, never worked together. Last minute match. It was like a come together at the last second. So barely even had the time to prepare for that in the way that guys have, a month to prepare for a pay-per-view match. Didn't have that. best match of the night, one of AJ Styles' best matches ever, one of Finn Balor's best match. I would say Finn Balor's best WWE match, at least main roster. And
if they would have ran that match 50 times, they would have figured out a bunch of shit to change it, and it wouldn't be the same because they keep fucking running it, and it's just
like if I were putting together house shows, what I would be doing more than anything else would be putting together more so, I won't say random, but the type of matches you could put together to where you have it in the bank to be able to say, because house shows, you get those producers notes, they get past the television, so that way on television they know what to run. That's what the repetition is all about, right? But for me, I would say I would be using these kinds of things to build those producer notes to make for better television shows. So that okay, I would be running every Cody Rhodes opponent I can over those last 20 house shows he's run. So that way we can look at the producer's notes and go, all right, so for this upcoming Raw, we already know Cody works well with this person. Let's do that. We know Cody works well with this person. Let's do that. Like, if house shows are truly for getting in the reps and preparing people for television, then they should be preparing for matches that they're going to have on television.
not just one match.
Not just the one match. That's what I would be doing personally.
And they keep giving me stats that existed before wrestling was regularly on television on fucking Monday nights. In 1985, they ran this match 20 times. Well, now they have TV. There's not markets where people don't see this. Like, they're seeing this in every market. This is all happening. Everything is wide. It's not in a little box anymore. So they don't have to do this.
Right. I mean, and if you... Like, I don't know. I feel like my stance on house shows really, I would say the last house show I went to was where it really shifted, where I looked up and I'm like, what are we doing here? Like,
exactly.
Why am I here? What is happening here? Because I've been to a lot of house shows too. And I even took a friend to a house show who had never watched wrestling before in her life. But she was like, she said she wanted to see a wrestling show. So I dragged her to a house show. And by the end of it, I was like, okay, so...
It's not usually like this.
Yeah, I was like, it's not like that.
Yeah, probably not the best intro.
Right.
And this wasn't like a far off house show, by the way. This was like 2019 that we went to a house show. And it was like... I remember Mustafa Ali comes out, and I'm like, "Oh, this is about to be dope," and it wasn't. Because wasn't because she was like, she's like, "Oh, he looks interesting," and I'm like, "Yeah." It was like Mustafa Ali, he's gonna do something cool, and like they didn't bother, they didn't try, because they're like, whatever, this is a show. Like, one, it was like 20% packed at this house show, so I personally wouldn't give anything that's not televised that has this few people here anything remotely my all, and none of these guys did, and they didn't have to. And this is the same conversation we had with the Jeff stuff, because people were like, how dare he walk on a house show? I'm like, it's a house show, guys. He didn't walk out on a television taping. It's a house show. Relax. But I get the reasoning behind having house shows for certain people to get reps. I don't really agree with workshopping matches, but for people that are, still kind of new and still kind of fresh, it does give them the reps. But the problem is you're selling house shows on seeing certain people. And so you have to have certain matches like the Cody stuff on there. I don't know. I agree. It's a weird problem to have.
I think this works for when NXT 2.0 is going back on the road, do that same match. Yeah, in that case, yes, run Nikki Lyons and fucking Lash Legend 500 times to get this right. But Cody and Seth Rollins, you don't need that. Like, Cody could be main event a different night with just anybody randomly back there, and it's going to go over because people want to see Cody, and then people want to see Seth. You could do the same thing. I don't get why they need to be together.
I get what you were saying, and like I understand the arguments people were making against you, but it just felt like y'all were going in circles.
Definitely, it was a big circle. I'm like, everybody's talking about nothing at this point, so.
It was fun though.
There's no beef. I hate when people are like, nobody's pressed, man. We're just talking and having fun.
It's some people out here pressed, all right. It's definitely people pressed.
I'll be tweeting with caps, but I swear to God, you guys, I'm over here high. I don't care.
Listen, man, it's absolutely people pressed out there, but it's people pressed about stupid stuff.
That's why I'm not pressed at all.
For what reason? Like,
I'll be talking loud, but that's just how I talk.
Yeah. Hey, so we got super chats, we got humper chats, and if you want to leave a super chat, youtube.com/Fightful is the way to leave us those. We also got the humper chats.
And we're down with Fightful. What's up?
Come on, man. Everybody chill out. Go get some Cinnabon, like, to Kesta. Like,
Oh,
what's
man,
wrong
he's
with people,
obsessed with the Cinnabon. He's blowing his whole AEW budget on the Cinnabon.
Yeah. And
Will Washington, is everything okay? He's in something right now.
I have to private chat you guys this one.
Okay. Yeah, so wrestling, it's crazy this week. We got a lot to talk about. 2 little ladies very soon. 3 little ladies. A million
Read
ladies.
what I just sent.
Oh, yes. That was an accident. I forgot to preface this. That was an accident. She sent me a message before we started this podcast. Yes. That was a big accident. Shout out to Jennifer. That was a big accident.
Shout out.
Her fingers. Yeah.
I could tell. Yeah,
Okay,
I was
now
like,
I see
what's
why
going
you-
on?
Now I see why you're.
I'm like,
I was so confused. And I was like, is his computer still working? What happened?
Nope,
did
it
his
is.
computer blow up or
I'm
what?
like, okay.
Yeah.
So being an accident, I will just say, we're gonna get that fixed because I was looking at the humper chats and obviously somebody typed in 1 too many zeros, and so I saw that was
Like, we ain't out here like that.
Nah, man.
Nah, but shout out to Jennifer. It was an accident. She did send me a message to be like, yo, hey, I did an accident before we let everybody know it was a big accident. So, yeah, I forgot to tell you guys before the podcast started.
yeah. I saw that and
That's funny. Yeah, let's get into these super chat stuff.
yeah. Shout out Jennifer, love and happiness.
I'm
to the
like,
Jakes.
yo, what happened? Will
Hope you all have a great
Bro.
weekend.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. When you see that,
Yeah,
it was
when-
like
I was
that's a good
about to
reason
say,
stop.
what's going on, bro?
Yeah, no, that's a good reason to stop for sure. We was just about to dedicate the show to Jennifer at this point. Like,
I was about to be on,
what you want?
I was about to be on. Look, this show is officially called just the Jennifer Power
Jennifer
Hour.
Percent Grapsody.
Yeah, Jennifer Persist's Grapsody. Look, Jennifer done paid my mortgage for a month. Like, this is cool. This is
funny. Now Will was like, "Yo, what's going on in my computer right now?"
And so thank you, Jennifer, though.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
That's so
But we also got Jay says, just wanted to show love to the Grapsody boys and the entire Fightful community. Keep rocking. I will say this, by the way. I have made that mistake before, in that I accidentally once bought way too much stock in a certain company that I meant that it was literally like went to buy $1,000 worth of stock and accidentally bought 10. And that's a obviously huge difference to make. That
Big difference.
Well, you just type in the zeros and then I was just habitually I just went 000 and then accidentally 0 enter. And I'm like, no, I can't take it back. And then I sat on it and was like, let's just keep it in the market for a week and see what happens. And it paid off. So, but I have made that mistake. So, and my wife wanted
classic
to
Will
ring my neck.
Washington always wins in the end. You'll never get him down.
Never.
Let's see. We got.
I'm glad. Real quick, I'm glad Phil didn't get into it because last week, we grew in the group chat. It was
My God,
Oh
Phil.
my God,
Phil.
I was hot.
I'm glad
Phil
you have had
Lindsey
a
was
week.
HOTT, brother. I tell you.
I'm glad you have had a week, my brother, because
Listen, if this was before our podcast last week, and I had certain people call me like, "Yo, it's okay, we're gonna figure this out." If we had recorded our podcast after certain things happened last week, nah,
Yeah,
Nah.
I'm glad you've had a week.
That would have been a whole ether beat pot. We would have to extend the ether instrumental for 2 hours on that one. I'm telling
I just, man,
You
I
know,
don't know,
like
man.
ether for 10 hours YouTube
yeah,
videos.
yeah, one
That
of
would
those
have
big
been.
moves. Just let it play.
I don't know, man. And I will just say this in the midst of this, that some things said that, they're so untrue, you don't even have to,
Right.
you don't have to even give it any credence, because it's like, that's so incredibly untrue. Like, why would I even argue that? Like, why are we even acknowledging that?
Right.
Yeah.
This ain't Roman Reigns.
Let's see. So, Jay says, just wanted to show love to the Grapsody boys and the entire Fightful community. Keep rocking. Thank you, Jay. And then we got some super chisats. Let's see. Going back through these, we've got Eloquent says, yo, Reg, let me break down for you how touring loops work, fam.
They were breaking down how touring works for me. You play your same song. You know a set? Yes, I know what a fucking set is. Why are you saying this to me?
Christopher says, in support of Sasha Banks and Naomi, we should boycott WWE. I mean, that's not going to happen.
Are y'all going to stick to that, though?
No.
Nathan says, stuck at home with COVID. Just took an edible. Looking forward to a very good show.
Damn,
Man,
speedy
sorry to hear that,
recovery.
bro.
Yeah. Speedy recovery.
Still
Matt
out there.
says, happy Saturday, Will, Phil, and Reg. Did somebody get a haircut? I'm standing with Sasha and Naomi, and those old heads can go kick rocks.
No, I just put my hair up if you guys thought
Yeah.
No. Hair's fine.
As you can see, I need a haircut. I haven't gotten mine up in so long, and it's
I think going to barbershops just sounds wild to me.
I've got an appointment set for, so I got to reschedule, right? Because I was gonna go. I try to get a haircut every 2 weeks, but I was like, you know what? I got a Double or Nothing trip coming up, and it's gonna not align with my 2 week schedule. So I gotta just wait
it out.
Yeah, I gotta wait it out, and but now my Double or Nothing schedule has shifted, so I gotta get this haircut rescheduled.
This guy is insane.
for
Nobody
those who
doesn't like Will Washington. I
For those who follow me on Twitter, they had announced that, and I told Swerve this too, but they had announced that there's going to be a 3-way. It's going to be Swerve Strickland, Ricky Starks, and Jungle Boy. And I thought, damn, that's like 3 of my favorite wrestlers right now. That sounds dope. I would love to be there. And so I tweeted jokingly, man, I might have to readjust my schedule. And so originally, like I said, that was a joke. Wasn't being serious. But I started to go to bed that night, and I'm like, but what if I was? What would it cost? And I looked at it, and I'm like, oh, I actually could pull this off. Let me just play around with some numbers. And I thought, damn, flights from Vegas.
Fuck up some commas.
Last minute flights from Denver.
100,000, 100,000, 100,000. Yeah.
No, last minute flights from Denver to Vegas are dirt cheap. I'm talking it was like $60 round trip. I put it in, and I went, oh, for real? That's it?
This guy, that's it?
And so I was like, look, I mean, considering how expensive everything else is, I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to pull off Chicago. Because right now, them flights are looking like $400 or $500.
Expensive.
But when it was hey, $60 round trip Denver to Las Vegas, I'm like, okay, I could probably pull this off. And so I did. And next thing you know, I'm going to be at Dynamite Wednesday to see specifically that match.
Crazy.
And Reg was already going to be there. So
Yeah.
now I'm going to be there too.
But for 5 minutes, classic, everywhere you always are.
Oh,
I'm going to be
yeah.
there, but only for 39 straight minutes. After that, I got to get to
limited
my
time
plane.
only.
So that's the thing. I have a thing back home on Thursday. So I have to...
This guy,
that I cannot miss, right? So I have to. So I actually am gonna fly in Wednesday.
Bro, taking planes like you take an Uber, bro. Just I'm gonna pull up and then that's it.
I mean, that's the thing. Fly, Denver to Vegas is what, a 45-minute flight? It ain't it really is like an Uber, right? So
Uber.
I am flying in. I get in. Let's see, Dynamite starts at 5 Pacific, right? I land at 3. So literally, I'm just gonna head. It's a 15-minute Uber to the arena. Going to the arena to Michelob Ultra Arena. Go to the show. probably do some bullshit afterwards for a few hours. My flight out leaves at 1, so I literally leave. Literally leaving at 1
I thought the
a.m.
Texas flight was bad, bro. That was like at 6 a.m. at least.
Yeah, I'm leaving at 1 a.m. flying back. I will make it back home to get my kids to school the next morning. Get my kids to school the next morning.
Traveling like the wrestlers, and you're just pulling up to watch. It's crazy.
Look, doing all the shit I got to do. Well, that's the thing. Like I said, it really isn't costing that
But
much.
honestly, life is fucking crazy, and you should do all the cool things.
All the
you
things.
Can. You can do that. Fucking do it. That's awesome.
Like, this is costing me a video game. Like, this is, and so,
Right.
And so,
not even all the way full price video game at this point.
that's right. They're 70 now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And then I fly back out Friday night into Sunday morning for the rest of my Double or Nothing weekend stuff. But I got some fun weekend stuff planned. So, because it's also a vacation my wife and I are taking. And so we're not just, it's not just wrestling. That
Yo,
we're doing.
it is busy that weekend. A lot of people are we're being requested places. There's things going on.
Yeah,
There's wrestling shows. It's.
I will say though, I am glad we're going this weekend or next weekend, not this weekend, because I got friends all in Vegas right now, because they're there for EDC, and they said like 100,000 people have flown into Vegas for EDC, and it's like they said the streets are packed. It's like $200 Ubers right now, and I thought, man, I'm glad it's just 13,000 people for this pay-per-view and not.
I mean, it is Memorial Day weekend, so
It's that too, right? So it is still Memorial Day weekend, so it's still going to be bad. But it's,
oh my God, I didn't think about that. They keep saying Memorial Day, but I didn't factor in it's actually going to be Memorial Day in Vegas. So there's going to be a bunch of people that aren't wrestling fans that are just there.
I mean, yeah, because hotels are pricey as hell. So anyway, though, we got a few others. Matt says, I already read that. We've got. I hate how it like jumps me when I scroll.
The Quizzlemania, they don't want none. AJ Styles.
Deontay says, yo, good to see y'all. Missed the last 2 weeks. My bad. My G-Ma is recovering and good.
Great
to hear.
Good news.
It says, thank you for all the prayers. This week is the epitome of a wild and week in wrestling, but I will be positive right now. Maki Ito versus DMD. I happy hollered.
Yeah, pretty much every Owen women's match has been some good shit. So
that has been.
Yeah.
The Joker was dope. I know people were so much into, it has to be this person, it had to be this person. When it wasn't, some people were like, oh, these Jokers wasn't it. Like, nah, I was happy to see Maki. I don't care what y'all say.
Yep. A lot of people were happy to see Maki. So,
I mean, I was of the idea that the Jokers would win, and now knowing that they wouldn't,
I'm not mad at it.
I feel like
because it's kind of like you think it's gonna happen and it doesn't happen. I'm into that,
Right.
And Samoa Joe versus Kyle O'Reilly. Woo!
Yes. Hey, Kyle is back. We'll talk about that.
Kyle O'Reilly has ever since that Finn Balor match. Oh God, he's been on fire, dude. He hasn't.
Distract says, happy Saturday to the Grapsody boys, and shout out to Will for destroying idiots left to right on Twitter this week. Have a good show.
Listen, man, come on, man.
A great show.
Our energy is rubbing off into the nicest guy on our podcast. We're all about that action now.
It's all about the action all the time, all moments. So you ready to pull up? We are ready to pull up. It's Grapsody.
Well, there's very few things I will tolerate, and dumbass racism is one of them.
First.
And that is like, nah, you're gonna get called out for that. There's just and Dream Ninja 77 says, I only watch some WWE for certain wrestlers, Sasha being my all-time favorite wrestler. I'm done now with Vince's petty BS. WWE needs Sasha more than Mercedes needs WWE. It's WWE. Did I say WWF? It says F this company. That's where I saw the
F was close. Yeah. Get the F out.
Yeah, trying to get the F out.
Yeah. And Tina says, or Tina Keys says, happy Saturday morning, long time watch, first time chatter. Thank you, Tina.
Love it.
Love your content, sending positive vibes. Hey, we
long time, first time.
Always love first times. C. Ribeiro says, sup fellas, shout out MJ, RIP. Just a heads up, y'all, 6/25/22 is a Saturday MJ Grapsody tribute show. It says, Force and Levity, y'all seen that Ref Aubrey Edwards compilation. They put her on blast. Golly. No, I haven't seen that.
No idea what you're talking about, bro.
I'm pretty sure I'm blocked by that Kenny 69 Me Don account. So if it came from that, I said like that account is extremely sensitive because I just pointed out that it's weirdo shit, and they were like, "Well, you're blocked." Okay.
Sometimes you gotta say something weirdo shit, man. I don't know.
Yep.
Sometimes you gotta call it how you call it, bro. I don't know.
Let's see. Van Twinblade says, "Happy note. Max calling Billy ass daddy is great."
Max,
Where's this guns ass thing going? What's going on?
I don't know, but apparently Anthony Bowens is hurt again. So.
Yeah, I was very confused about because he tweeted, he was like, "You guys did this to me," but then it was just like an angle. But like, no, he's really hurt. So
yeah.
Oh.
And Nathan says, "Reg had me rolling all morning. Pro wrestling is pro wrestling."
It's nobody wants to distinguish between WWE and pro wrestling. Also, like WWE has to be attached to every. Like I agree a lot of the times because it is WWE, and some of this stuff is because it's WWE. But like that shit's trash, bro.
Valav says, "Wish I could have gone to Prince's house
with Sasha and Snoop Dogg Jr."
Van Twinblade says, "Going heel for a sec. Avs suck. Let's go Blues." Look, let me tell you something. I am literally in this hockey stuff because my local team has made it this far in the playoffs and is doing decently.
Really?
I mean, they swept the first round, and then they're 1-1.
Wow.
I have maybe watched 3 whole hockey games in my life, but I can at least get into playoff hockey. I've said before, like I remember, I took this pro sports class freshman year of high school, which always weirds people out. But for people who went to Rangeview High School in the late 90s and early 2000s know that we had a thing called intercession, where we got to take for one semester kind of a bullshit-ass class. And I mean, like, there's a class called 22 Days of Springfield, where it was literally a Simpsons class. And we got and so my freshman year, I took a class called Pro Sports in Denver, and it was a class all about learning about Denver sports. Right, and we learned about Denver sports, and then we took 2 field trips at the end. We took a field trip to a Denver Nuggets game, and we took a field trip to a Colorado Avalanche game.
What kind of class is this?
And
That's a crazy ass class.
And then we had to write about. So we learned about like the history of the sports in Denver. It was actually like they still made it scholastic, I guess. And at the end, we had to like write about our observations that we picked up on at the games. And then we were discussing our observations, and our teacher straight up said it. Shout out Mr. Shive, but. We were nobody wanted to say what he was thinking, but he was like, "So what was everybody's observation about the hockey game?" And finally, he looks around. And he's like, "Okay, anybody notice there weren't like any brothers in the building?"
I noticed.
Yeah. And finally, all the black kids in the class were like, "Yeah, we noticed." But I will never forget that line because this old white guy saying there weren't any brothers in the building was just always cracks me up. I think about that line often. And every time
I can't
I go
think
to
about hockey without thinking about the Chance SNL sketch of him standing next to the ice and hilarious.
What about over there in Chicago, Phil? Because they got a pretty hot hockey team. Or do black people like Chicago?
I only kept up with it when the Hawks were winning. Other than that, I'm not a big.
Not pretty much, yeah.
I don't know what it is, but hockey just.
San Jose Sharks over here. I'm just like, they won, I think, pretty recently. And I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, but you know what? I like I said, it was one of those things where shout out DirecTV having that new feature now where like when you go into the guide, it tells you active sports scores for like games that are on right now without you having to go to them, right? So I just open the guide and I see it was like I see Avalanche up 1-0, and I'm like, all right, I'll at least peep this, and I put it on. I'm like, okay, I could deal with playoff hockey. And who knows? This might actually turn me into a fan. But for now,
playoff anything is always pretty hot. It's really hard to not, you know what I mean?
It's my local team, so it's whatever.
Right. Gotta watch something because those Nuggets up out here.
I know. Although, like I said, I always root for the team that eliminates the Nuggets. it's the Warriors now, so it's all Warriors gang right now.
It's looking Scott. I turned on the game late yesterday, and they had only had 10 points, and it was like the end of the first quarter. I'm like, what are you guys doing? But they were like, psych afterwards. So,
scary
Warriors, stop doing that. You guys just come out the gate with it, man.
It's weird that the Warriors are one of the only teams where I can watch the second quarter. When you looked at that score in the second quarter, and they were down almost 20, and you can comfortably go, yeah, they got this. Yeah, and they did. I was like, yeah, this is fine.
Oh, they're down 19 points. No, they'll be up in like a few minutes. And they were up in a few minutes, man. Stop doing this. Just do that at first.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
That's what they do, right? It's the rope-a-dope. And then and then you just come through and Steph reminds you who he is, and
he's like, actually, I can hit threes from way back here. Did you guys forget?
Once he starts dancing and stuff and getting in his bag, forget it.
When he starts doing taunts, it's a wrap. Like, you got to get him before he starts taunting. Because he be spamming that taunt stick.
And so Mint Lemonade says, Discovery CEO's desire to cut billions in projects has me worried about AEW's future contract lately, especially with the upfront news this week. Concerning? Don't know. Here's the thing. They're not up for negotiations till, for another year and a half. And as we've seen just in the last 6 months with Cody being a WWE superstar, a lot can change in a year and a half. I don't know. I'm not necessarily concerned because, as I mentioned last week, pro wrestling as a whole, WWE as well, is cheap programming when you do it as a cost per hour. And that's the way people look at it because it is 52 weeks of programming. It's relatively cheap. Even giving AEW a raise would still be cheaper than most original produced programming. And I think they know that. And so I don't know that there's a whole lot to be concerned about. But I don't know. I know that.
Also, they could be like, fuck wrestling. We want you guys out of here. Like, nobody knows anything. So we're just going to see.
But I also feel this. And shout out to WWE on this. When WCW was cut in 2001, there was a stigma around pro wrestling a lot because pro wrestling in the 90s was seen as racy, raunchy programming that was risky for your television audience. And it had that from the early 90s. In the 80s, it was seen as hillbilly programming. And then in the 90s, it was very much seen along the lines of Jerry Springer and things like that. And as a company, people wanted to kind of back off of this reputation that pro wrestling had. WWE did a lot to fix the reputation of pro wrestling over the last 20 years. I don't feel like anybody looks at pro wrestling the way that it was looked at in 2001, like even close. I don't think that idea exists among executives. I think they look at it as like it's just programming. Like even because I know people are like, but AEW is a little more violent. Like in terms of the matches, maybe if there's more blood, but content-wise, they're not doing the shit that was being done in the 90s. That stuff isn't there. Those feuds aren't the way they were. It's not the programming it was.
That's so funny about AEW and WWE. I watched wrestling yesterday with a friend and Rampage and SmackDown back to back, and I was like, "So what do you think about these two programs back to back?" And she said that they're the same. She's like, these two shows are the same. There's nothing like, as somebody on the outside, these shows are looked at exactly the same. It's a wrestling ring and a bunch of wrestling fans and people wrestling. So like when we get all hung up on these things on the outside, everybody's just like, this is a wrestling show.
I have a feeling that the executives who aren't following this completely and just see it as programming basically have simple concerns about it. Because again, wrestling doesn't have that stigma anymore. I think it's a simple concern, and it's for what we're spending, what are we getting back on it? What's our return? And if they're getting a good return on it, we'll see. AT says, I've been waiting for this stream all week. Y'all need a midweek show.
Hey, man.
I will say, I have one. If you check out Day After Dynamite every Thursday at, I'm currently saying 4 p.m. Eastern. However, it is looking like, so this week we did a 3 p.m. Eastern show because I had to start early. And it actually went well. And then I got a message from Jeremy that was like, if you want to keep that time, go ahead. I think we may be moving the show to 3 p.m. Eastern. So either way, I do have a midweek show. I also
real quick, maybe some breaking news here. I'm going to have a midweek show too. It's not going to be on this network. It's going to be on another network. Shout out. This is my TV show, Body Slam, new podcast, Righteous Reg, Game Changer Weekly. It's happening next week on Tuesday. So I'll get you guys the time. I have a new podcast. It's on GCW because I want to talk some more. Pro wrestling is out here. You guys go, follow me. Talking. It's going to happen. All I want to do ever is talk wrestling. That's why I put out these stupid tweets where I know the WWE fanboys and Vincels, as they call them, are going to pull up to try to murder me.
I also launched another show literally yesterday. Shout out Jimmy Van, who of course launched Know Your News, and doing a show on Know Your News called As Told By. It's actually hosted by myself and my one of my best friends in the entire world. Her name is Spokey. It is two black people just talking about 4 entertaining stories from the week. Awesome. And this week we talked Ric Flair having another match. We talked. Here's the thing. She don't follow wrestling at all, so I brought that story to the table because I wanted to hear it from the perspective of somebody who only knows Ric Flair as old woo guy. And I'm like, what do you think of the idea of this man having another match?
He is definitely old woo guy. He's out here trying to woo people.
Oh, big.
It's funny because that's what I said to her. I was like, what do you think of when you think of Ric Flair? She's like, oh, the old guy who woos? And I'm like, yes, Ric Flair. and then we also talked about Austin St. John, the original Red Ranger, being arrested yesterday.
Scammer, PPPs over here.
Yeah, we talked about that too. Check out the show's called.
I love it.
It's called As Told By. It's hosted by me and Spokey, and it was a lot of fun. Spokey and I have been friends for 21 years.
This was one of those weeks where I was looking around like, our listeners are great, man. Like, we saw it, man. We saw the bat signal in the sky. Yeah. Of course, we couldn't answer right away, but your boys were already ready to hop on this podcast. But we appreciate y'all, man. We really do.
Love y'all. Y'all are the best.
Yes.
Grapsody supporters are legit the best. They're in my DMs and stuff, and they always say the nicest and also funniest shit ever. So shout out to y'all.
I'm going to try to find a place to leave this Megazord. Look, it's the original Megazord. I brought that on the show.
Will always has to have something close. Like he probably has a title belt in his lap right now, maybe, or at least like in reaching distance.
Nah, I don't.
Wow.
What do I have in reaching distance? I mean, I guess I just have Megazords in reaching distance. I got the Astro Megazord, Power Rangers in Space, the best series.
I love it. It is the best season. Come on.
Yeah, it is. So. Anyway, a couple more, and then we will get into the topic that I've really wanted to get into. We got another. What I have for the Sasha and Naomi situation isn't hate, it's loathing. That statement that WWE put out was just a load of BS that not only buried Sasha and Naomi, threw Nikki and Doudrop under the bus.
How do you know he thought about Nikki or Doudrop, though? I think
right, and I talked about that this week. Oh my God! Eric Brady says Will was mistaken about which pay-per-view a random old match was on. I've waited years for this moment.
Mark this date down. History has been made.
You know what threw me off there? I will say that was that weird year where, because if I remember correctly, in 2016, No Mercy and TLC were both SmackDown pay-per-views. And then in 2017, they swapped them for whatever reason. And so like my brain was just kind of off on all of that because AJ Styles was technically a SmackDown guy when he worked that show, but he worked the random Raw pay-per-view and then went on to win the WWE title. I was just slightly thrown off. But both those pay-per-views, if I remember correctly, were still in the same month, right? It was like one was beginning of October. The other was end. I think No Mercy might have even been September.
Yeah, I don't remember. Never go back to branded pay-per-views, by the way.
No, go back to branded pay-per-views.
I went to a TLC in San Jose.
Okay, yeah, that No Mercy was
that whole 2 pay-per-views a month thing. Come on, don't.
Yeah, that's what threw me off. Crazy.
Because October, it's because No Mercy's normally in October, and that year it was in September. So I knew my brain still knew October. I was just off on the show itself.
Will's
No,
never wrong.
I agree. Branded pay-per-views. I think branded pay-per-views were the way to go, and the reason they were the way to go was because that's why I'm so anti-split right now. I believe you either have to go all in on a split or don't do it at all. But I don't like this halfway shit because. If you do the halfway shit you have now, then you run into the issue of one champion is going to feel inferior to the other. I think what was helping in 2016 with the single branded pay-per-views was that you had both champions feeling like the champion of their brand. They were the champion of their pay-per-views. They were main eventing their pay-per-views. Once you get into this idea that the pay-per-views are all the same, that it's all just Raw and SmackDown, then it's like you see what they're going to do. They're like, all right, well, Roman's always the main event. Roman's the guy. And I felt like I said, you either have to go all in on a brand split or don't do it at all. And I thought that it almost immediately undercut the WWE Championship the moment they decided to bring the pay-per-views back together. That's how I felt. And the 2 a month thing was maybe a little weird because it's like, they both have to have a pay-per-view in September.
Yeah, no, it's like do one show a month.
I can agree with that, but I just felt like that hurt the standing of one of the championships. And it did the last time, too. Like, we knew it was going to do that. Because in 2007, when they ended the split pay-per-views, it was like the World Heavyweight Championship, big gold belt, suddenly fell to the back way because John Cena had to be the main event at every pay-per-view. And you don't have to do that. Just go all in is how I say. Or don't. Don't do
they're
anything.
not going to. They're just not going to.
No. So he's continuing. He said, for no reason whatsoever, also broke kayfabe. Not that we don't know it's scripted, but for them to go out of their way to say that, I
agree.
Yeah. Well, Demon says, if this walkout is real, why did Cole refer to them by character names and not Mercedes Vernado and Trinity Fatu? It's not a work. You have to think about who's being worked when something is a work. And Tremaine says, at least we still have the Bianca Sasha Naomi picture.
Yeah,
I have to say, when you guys keep putting S/N, I'm like, screen name? And I'm like, no, I know what you mean.
I thought it was side note. We'll always have the memories, guys. We'll always have the memories.
Although it was a bullshit ass comparison to begin with, now y'all can officially stop comparing them to the baddies.
Please stop comparing black wrestlers.
Yeah.
Please stop it.
It's tired.
Chris says, thanks for reminding me of that TLC build featuring Bray as Sister Abigail versus Halloween Balor. Can't unsee it again.
Let's never revisit that.
No.
Let's see. We also got all right, just a couple more. There's it says, in a lighter note, big love to everyone who enjoyed Hangman vs. Takeshita. Glad you loved your serving of Yum Yum Take soup. And RoboCop says the second Hana Kimura Memorial is on Monday in Japan. 2 more wrestlers have been harassed online. WWE statement about Sasha and Naomi makes me feel like it will only cause more similar problems. And Ryan Lambert says, sending my weekly love for y'all. I can't listen live as I make the move from Chi to San Fran. Wow.
San Fran, let's go, baby.
You're going from Phil's neck of the woods to Regis. Just have an awesome show. Y'all have a ton to talk about. And Bridget says, y'all are awesome. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Bridget.
You are awesome. All right. So I will get back to the super chats in just a minute because there's a lot more. Thank you all for the super chats.
Yeah, this is awesome, you guys. We appreciate y'all. We're about to get into this shit, you guys.
Yeah, we're about to get into
what
it.
Because
here's the thing. We got to get into all right. So yeah, look, we got to flip it. All right. Because this is really the number one today. Sasha, Naomi. As the story goes, on Monday night, there was the announcement of a 6-pack challenge that was to feature Sasha Banks, Naomi, Doudrop,
Nikki ASH,
and of course the participants who ended up still having their match, Asuka and Becky Lynch. About half hour into the show, they suddenly announced that it's been changed. What's going on? Who the hell knows? Then Mike Johnson, PW Insider, had reported that Sasha Banks and Naomi had left the building. What is going on? Apparently, PW Insider reported that Sasha had a heated meeting with Vince that had been going on all day, and finally left at the start of Raw. Then Fightful Select came with more details on that, as far as who the winner was supposed to be, and what the story idea was going to be. Which the story as it goes was that Naomi was going to win the match and go on to challenge Bianca Belair at the pay-per-view. And then what was to follow was that Sasha was then going to be declared the number one contender to face Ronda Rousey, and basically the tag champions would be the number one contenders for the WWE Women's Championships at Hell in a Cell, the next pay-per-view. And apparently Sasha was not good with that. She spent the day trying to convince Vince this isn't a good
Ronda
idea.
doesn't care about being here, that she's bored.
No, but more than anything, that, hey, we were kind of told back in February that, we're going to become this tag team, and we agreed to it, and we put a lot of our time and energy into being this tag team. We came up with tag team maneuvers, came up with a tag team finisher. We really wanted to focus on being a tag team, and we were kind of assured that this was going to be a thing, and all of a sudden now we're being told that we're challenging for the singles titles and losing and not defending the tag team titles for the second straight pay-per-view. And Sasha wasn't good with that. And so she had voiced to Vince, can we do anything else? Vince was basically like, no. And Sasha. And so before we get to that, I actually want to make sure that this gets read on our show, because this was the thing we haven't gotten to read specifically. I need to find it.
Press release?
No, yes, specifically the press release, because this is what really got us. So midway through the show, Corey Graves notes that Sasha and Naomi unprofessionally walked out on Monday Night Raw. WWE then puts out a statement. They never put out statements about anything.
Never.
Not
a press release.
They don't even talk about releases anymore. They don't announce releases anymore. Sean Ross Sapp announces releases now. He is the official release guy, and WWE seems to be perfectly okay with Sean just being the release guy now. WWE put out the following statement. When Sasha Banks and Naomi arrived at the arena this afternoon, they were informed of their participation in the main event of tonight's Monday Night Raw. During the broadcast, they walked into WWE Head of Talent Relations John Laurinaitis' office with their suitcases in hand, placed their tag team championship belts on his desk, and walked out. They claimed they weren't respected enough as tag team champions. And even though they had 8 hours to rehearse and construct their match, they claimed they were uncomfortable in the ring with two of their opponents, even though they'd had matches with those individuals in the past with no consequence. Monday Night Raw is a scripted live TV show whose characters are expected to perform the requirements of their contract. We regret we were unable to deliver as advertised tonight's main event.
Are you fucking serious? They do this every week. Well, how could they say that when they do what they just said almost on a weekly basis?
Nah, Reg, see, that was different because see, that's different because when we say we're taking away your main event, that's us doing that.
Yes.
But when somebody else took away the main event from you, see, that's where we have to apologize.
No, it's different. It's so
we didn't intend to take
different.
it from you, so therefore that was different. Shout out Friday, by the way.
Yes.
But so I had a problem with this statement and Corey Graves' commentary, which I recognized. You could tell by the wording of it. It was said by
We know.
We know that. My beef with this, of course, from the moment it happened, and I knew it was going to happen, and we saw it all day Tuesday, was that you just put a target on two black women. And people are going to start saying some shit. People who already feel a certain way about black women are going to basically put it all out there, and they're going to make sure to put the target on them being black women. That was the problem I specifically had with this particular person who made sure when Swerve tweeted his support for Sasha and Naomi, he didn't say the word black one time. But this particular person came at Swerve with, he was like, wow.
Here they come with this black shit, pretty much.
Yeah, basically what they said.
Always making everything about race.
And I thought, there was nothing in Swerve's tweet about that. He never said the word black anywhere in the tweet. Not one place. So that was what kind of set me off, because I knew this is what was going to happen. And I knew that there's so much that's gone down behind the scenes that have essentially never been addressed on screen at all. At all. WWE could have suspended the two of them. And again,
there's stuff that happened on screen that has never been addressed.
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
That's never been addressed. Nothing about this had to be addressed. You've also changed matches mid-show before in a way that never had to be addressed. But I recognize in this particular instance that they addressed it the way they did because they were angry, because they felt disrespected, and it became a case of, we've got to do this way because we need to send a message that this isn't how you do things. Oddly enough, I fully agree with how Sasha feels about these tag titles to an extent. And what I mean by that is, look, fool me once, shame on you, but like fool me 10,000 times, and like you're not gonna ever convince me that WWE is gonna take tag team wrestling seriously in any division. So even if they do it for a couple months like they did last night, I recognize that long term never gonna matter. It's one of those things where I guess I applaud them for wanting it taken seriously, but also like, come on, you knew that you guys being placed in this tag team was just to keep you guys happy because they didn't have any actual singles plans for you. But at the end of the day, they broke up every women's tag team they've had. Hell, Rhea Ripley has had two of basically the same tag team breakup happen in less than a year with her and Nikki ASH, and then she turned around and did the exact same thing to Liv Morgan, almost in the exact same fashion. Yep. But
you had to give her the chance to join the Purple Light District.
But like, so hold on, I'm trying to pull up another statement here. Because
the statement from Thursday, not Thursday, Friday, SmackDown from Friday.
I mean, so yeah, SmackDown. Of course, Michael Cole had his on-screen statement about it, where then it was officially said, and it had been rumored for a couple of days that this was going to be the case, but that they have been suspended indefinitely. There are rumors over the fact that apparently Naomi and Sasha are right in the middle of contract negotiations. The timing of that actually kind of makes sense, because I'm pretty sure it was only around this time in 2019 that Sasha had re-signed her contract. Contracts are typically 3 years. I know there were some rumors about 5, but there's never been anything official in that regard. So if that's the case, yeah, Sasha's right out about the point where she should be renegotiating her contract. Naomi apparently is along those same lines. With a suspension, there's usually time you can add to that, and they probably will, just to make sure that they don't go anywhere hot. WWE removed all of their merchandise, so this is one of those cases where they don't even get to make any money while suspended. This is like a straight up message being sent.
That's the point that I knew it was when people's like, it's a work. WWE doesn't want money for themselves when they know they could capitalize off this. That's how you know. If they're like, no, we don't want that money, that's how you know shit's real. They always want money every time. So for them to be like, no, we're taking their merch down, we're taking any advertisement of them anywhere on any social media down says a lot about the
Y'all
situation.
got to cut y'all wrestler brain off, man. I know everybody wants to turn everything into a work, but not everything's a work.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, the biggest thing here is who's being worked. Like nothing
Right.
was happening on screen that was related to this.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
because again, it's all comparisons to the Bryan Danielson thing, but like, and how could that have been a work? But like Bryan Danielson, the big difference was that his was that happened in the middle of a brawl with Jericho Appreciation Society, and like that's who was being worked. The audience in the arena was being worked there. In this case, who is being worked here besides the workers? There's no storyline for this. There's nothing that's being advanced for this. They're off screen. They're suspended. The tag team titles have been stripped. For people who didn't know the joke I was making with the Hornswoggle thing, when I posted Hornswoggle being stripped of the Cruiserweight title, the joke there when I tweeted that yesterday, and for the record, I did tweet the image of Hornswoggle handing over the Cruiserweight title, was that they had him stripped of the belt in 2007. Then WWE.com said there will be a future tournament to crown a new Cruiserweight champion, which I guess wasn't wrong. It just happened a decade later. But
way in the future.
They just retired the belt and quietly moved it over to the former belt section, and it was never brought up again. The idea that there would be a new Cruiserweight champion crowned never happened again. It was just gone. And my worry about the tag titles is that unless they like call up Toxic Attraction, they're going to look at the landscape and go, what tournament? What are we even going to do?
What teams? So
what teams? And then
so when you say work though, right? Because I kept seeing people go, it's a work. What angle do you come at this and go, this is a work, and it galvanizes heat, right? Because where's the heat going? If this is Steph coming on screen and saying they're suspended and they're fired, blah 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 blah, you're getting heat on Stephanie, right? Where's this heat going? Because it looks like the company is doing this to them. It doesn't look like a character on screen is doing it to them. This is the company itself doing all these things.
Right.
So there's no, and furthermore, when you make it a work, when you use wording like unprofessional or they let us all down and they let down millions of fans, that's the company telling you that. That is not a character on screen telling you that. So again, where's the work going?
The heat has to go somewhere. It can't just like it's a work. Like if it's a work, then they're benefiting Sasha and Naomi, and they're just
who does this benefit? Does this make them look like better baby faces coming back by spending the entire week dragging them? They put that press release everywhere. It was on their website. It was on Twitter. It was on Instagram. It was on. They got out to all the outlets and did it.
Yep.
How does that make them? How does that make their return look good?
Yeah, that press release. They had little slideshows on Instagram with like, breaking it down. Like they have that thing everywhere. Now this is totally to smear them. Though? Yeah, it doesn't. That doesn't make any sense.
I've seen people say this too. It's a work and it'll make them in the heels when they come back. How does caring about the tag division make them heels?
They didn't care about creative. They're bad.
It doesn't make sense.
None of this makes sense, man. And these statements that that the dude Corey Graves and Michael Cole have put out are awful. We know they're from Vince McMahon, and we know what they are to do. Anytime he does this to make an example, especially on his shows, we know what he's trying to do. He's trying to bury these people. He's trying to kill their momentum. He's trying to, do whatever he needs to do to establish that this whole show, everything that's happening here is about him. It's this machine. It's WWE. This is WWE. This isn't about Sasha Banks, about Naomi. This is about the WWE. And you're going to stand in line like they told Leo, like they told ACH, like they tell everybody. And you're going to follow along what we say because we are paying you. I'm paying you for this. I paid for that Wagyu beef that you eating. I'm the reason that you're eating steak now.
That was nasty, by the way. Having Corbin come out and give that promo that was a clear dig at her. Like, come on, man. That was for further context.
Wait. I didn't see this promo because here's the thing with me and SmackDown, by the way. SmackDown does not air live in Denver. Like, I can through the Fox app, but they made it, like, much harder to find. So, officially now, like, SmackDown's one of those shows that I catch the highlights of after the fact because, like, I've already seen everything on Twitter spoiled for me. So, when I see Corbin promo, I usually just like skip. So, I didn't-
So the promo for Will, in the context of people who didn't see it, the promo was Corbin coming out and cutting his promo on Madcap Moss, and he started by going, you know, I'm your boss, you do what I say, blah blah blah, and then he said, you know, he was out here eating Wagyu beef, blah blah blah. You eat steak when I say you can eat steak, and this is clear not reference to Sasha saying, you know, I'm on Vince's level now. I eat steak like him.
And then Corbin coming to saying, "You only eat steak because of me, not like
Exactly.
me."
Yeah, so yeah,
Nasty.
it's all a clear dig at Sasha.
Man, okay, that's
Clear
interesting.
dig at Sasha.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so much of this that they keep throwing it on their programming to knock them every chance they could get. It just feels like, for what reason? It's like it just all feels like we wouldn't have known any of this
We wouldn't
if
have known.
you did not keep putting this on our televisions that they walked out. None of us would know they walked out. And I get it. You gotta look at this two ways. They probably felt a way that they had to turn around and give us a different match at SummerSlam, and it looked like they reneged on a match, right? That made them look bad. And so, you know, Sasha's also in the middle of that. So they're also looking at it like, well, you know, we covered for you last time, we're not covering for you again. That's how it felt like to me. And I could be off, but it definitely felt like that to me. Like, we're not gonna take the hit for false advertising a match again for you.
Behind you, yeah, I could see that definitely. But
And
that's like they didn't have to do it that time. They could
They
have came
did
out and
not.
said from the jump, like, it's
They
not
did
my
not.
fault that
They
you
could-
advertised me all the way up into the match.
They
card.
could have changed the
And
match
I
the
guess
week of.
The biggest thing coming out of this, I think, is like Naomi. Everything kind of surrounding Naomi, because everything has kind of been put onto Sasha's back. Like, Sasha did this. Naomi's nasty ex-best partner tried to get some takes off to say that
Ariane,
this is all Sasha's
listen.
fault. Like, what?
Ariane, relax.
Please relax.
Relax.
You can't. It's
Please.
not time to be trying to get a job right now, lady. Relax. Read the room. But yeah, it seems like people are saying that it's all Sasha when Naomi hasn't. Look at all the things that's happened to Naomi. Look at when she was set up with the hashtags and everything. They could have, you know, let her go. Did all these things with her. They did nothing. There's so many times where she could have been set up for greatness and they did nothing. This isn't just a one-time occurrence where Naomi's finally, oh, she's fed up because of what happened. No, she's fed up because of years of things that would happen. She's not following along with Sasha. She's going along with what happened to her. That's totally separate than Sasha. And she was sold these lies or whatever they told too, that the tag team championships are going to be important, bigger roles on shows, all these things. And then when you don't do it and then you pivot and I hate when they pivot on something and then they're like, well, this is what you wanted. You're getting a title shot, but it's like, no, dude, I've wanted what you told me you were going to give me, you know?
There's going to be people that do that. Oh, they're going to have the 2 title matches at the pay-per-view, so what were they mad about? No, stop promising me things and pulling the rug from under us. That is
Right.
probably what they're mad about. I can't speak for them, of course, but
Well,
if you look,
and this is what I've been trying to find this whole time. If people have been wondering what I've been staring at, was that, of course, there was some details kind of dropped from Adidas head 88, who was given permission to share the story. I will read kind of details. Adidas head 88, of course, is followed by Naomi, and so at least
didn't Meltzer say that some of the stuff he said is true as well?
yeah. So regardless, I'm going to read exactly what Adidas head 88 said, which was, you were approached in February as being put in a tag team after both being promised big feuds at WrestleMania. You bite the bullet and put everything you got into being a tag team. It works. You get over, win the titles at WrestleMania, and become merch pushers. 5 weeks into your reign, you show up to live TV and ready to work. You are told you will be in the main event, and you are both happy. You both are then told that one of you will be going over from pinning the other. You have questions why that decision was made and how it helps y'all. You request a meeting with your boss to discuss it. Your boss takes the meeting and everything is actually going well. He understands your concerns, the meeting ends well, and the match is told to be reconstructed. For some reason, producers get mad about it. You then ask, with one of your members going over, what happens to your titles. You're basically told that you will just be carrying the belts, that they want to use you both to help both women's champions get more over, and that being Bianca versus Naomi and Sasha versus Ronda. And give me a second because the screen just lost all of that. But there's way more details. There's way more details here on why this is a problem, and I'm getting there in a second.
Yeah, and so I know there are other reports that
going.
came out and disputed some of this stuff, but I think the basis of it is true. If I had to guess, of course we don't know this for sure, but I do feel like the basis of what their issue with the match is true.
Oh, wait. Okay, I got the rest. And so neither one of you will win the solo titles, and you won't defend your tag titles until Money in the Bank, which of course is the pay-per-view after Hell in a Cell. So that
Long
means
time from now.
So that means 2 pay-per-views will have gone by. Right, Money in the Bank's in July. So that means 2 pay-per-views will have gone by without a tag title defense. They said you ask for another meeting with your boss, but this time you are being called spoiled. A producer walks away screaming. He comes back and tells both of you to fix your attitudes. Y'all have a brief meeting amongst yourselves and decide to stand up for yourselves. You go to another boss and make it clear that you just have concerns. You ask why we are even in the match and why aren't other women in it. You ask why your titles have no stories for 2 months. Again, you are met with fix your attitudes. So after one final meeting with yourselves and asking others, you make the ultimate decision as a team. It's sad how one side is trying to create a fucked up narrative. Also, it was asked why were Nikki ASH and Doudrop in the match instead of starting their program tonight, because that's who they thought they were going to be feuding with. Naomi nor Sasha talked down about being in the ring with either one. I don't know how that got flipped. I mentioned on what show was that? Where Pillar to Post. Sorry, I did a bunch of podcasts this week, but I was.
You lost.
I did lose.
Come on.
But I was on Pillar to Post this week, and I talked about how what's interesting is that WWE kind of gets to have a bit of a technicality on the Sasha Naomi thing. Because one of the statements they made, if you go back and read it, it said they claimed they were uncomfortable in the ring with 2 of their opponents, even though they'd had matches with those individuals in the past with no consequence. They didn't say which 2. People just assumed because Nikki ASH and Doudrop weren't in the match that's who that's being talked about, right? But on the technicality that they're obviously voicing displeasure with having matches with Bianca Belair and Ronda Rousey, I think that's the technicality. And I'm talking about this from like a libel standpoint, like if WWE were ever like sued by these 2 because they could claim, hey, we never said we didn't want to face anybody. It's like, well, that's not true. You actually did say you didn't want to face Bianca and Ronda Rousey at the pay-per-view. That's 2 of your opponents. You had faced them before. So we weren't lying. We just never said what to. I feel like that's the technicality they'd probably win on that argument on. Regardless, all of that sounds plausible, right?
Yes.
That none of that sounds like
that's a story we've heard before. I've heard wrestlers tell this exact story. They were supposed to do something, and then they change the whole fucking thing as it goes along. So this doesn't sound wild. Any of that story that sounds very plausible to what.
Now,
happened.
as of the final rundown, or at least the final rundown before the match was changed, we do know that Naomi wasn't going to be pinning Sasha, but. So at least they got that piece of it changed, but it sounds like that was the original plan. They at least got argued out of that, but regardless, they just wanted something for their tag team titles. But I think the ultimate thing here is just that the attitude behind putting them on blast just doesn't sit right with me. The way it was talked about on screen, the way Michael Cole gave the statement and talked about letting down millions of WWE fans and disappointing the locker room, all of that.
Ugh.
Like, none of that needed to be put out there. I don't think it did. So I guess my question for you two is, what do you think the future holds for Sasha and Naomi?
So, yeah, before I answer that question, when I listened to the Cole commentary this week, it made some of the things in the press release make sense, because I was wondering why even mention that they had problems working with 2 people. Because I'm like, that's so inconsequential to them walking out. But then it occurred to me, because you're trying to make it look like that they had problems with people that they were working with, so that you can create distrust in a locker room for them.
Yep.
That whole
Yes.
press release is not to just get fans to distrust them, it's to get people in the locker room to distrust them. It's to diminish the brand that they were creating outside of the company. That's why they released it to other outlets outside of wrestling. This was
and
a
absolutely,
three-pronged attack.
Yeah, no, I mean 4-point, because also the idea that everybody's talking about, well, what's next for them? Could we see them appear in another company? Could they sign elsewhere? And it's like, well, not one of the things we can do to hurt that narrative is to paint them as unprofessional, make it so
exactly.
that another company wouldn't be interested in signing them either. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot here.
Yeah,
Even though guys have walked out on creative plenty. Now, I know the issue here, the main difference, because I keep hearing it, I know we'll hear it, is that the show had already started at this point. But
You mean the
They
show
have been-
that they're constantly rewriting as it's starting, that they've been doing for the last 20 fucking
and
years?
not just this, but some have argued that I have heard from, look, nobody in WWE is stupid enough to come out and publicly support. That doesn't mean the support doesn't exist in the locker room. It absolutely does. But the reason you're seeing the support from other locker rooms is because it's of no consequence to them. Whereas people on screen are kind of people in WWE on screen are kind of having to play it safe. But they're talking to other people. One of the things I heard was that they don't know for sure. And so I'm not going to say I know for sure either. But they were like, but I don't think. They said that I don't know that Sasha and Naomi even left during the show. They just didn't realize they were there during the show, was what I was told. And that was interesting. And they're like, I'm not sure when exactly they left, but that was when Vince was told, was 5 minutes into the show, that, hey, they're not here anymore. So
They could have been gone for an hour by that point.
who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know that.
I mean, yeah, people that are like nobody's supporting them. You gotta use your common sense on this. If they are coming out and dragging these two women all week, why would you then come behind them and support them and think you're still going to be on TV and still think you're going to get plans that you had in place before that? Like, nobody's going to mess up their position in the company, bro.
And I don't think Sasha and Naomi are like, you guys need to come and support me. They know what's going on.
They
there.
know the game.
But
position
like
they're in.
this is a strategic move. It was look, if they think they're gonna walk out after what we've done for them, we're gonna make sure that their Hollywood opportunities are hurt. We're gonna make sure that their other wrestling opportunities are hurt. We're gonna make sure that they're painted in a bad light with not only other wrestling companies but other wrestlers. So that you got it all right. This is a strategic attack plan to make it so that there isn't a whole lot to gain from working with Sasha Banks again, because WWE does have good Hollywood standing, right? It is one of those things where Sasha Banks had Star Wars opportunities last year, and that didn't come through WWE. But so that means that she does possibly have the ground game to be able to get those opportunities herself, but not if she's painted in a light of being difficult to work with. We've seen what that does. One of the things that
we've seen what that's done to women in particular.
Yeah, exactly.
We've particularly seen what that's done to black women.
Yep. The point I was actually going to bring up was Janet Hubert. She was
Aunt Viv.
Aunt Viv, right?
Dark skin Aunt Viv.
Yeah. So she talked about, and one of the things that I never truly understood till I heard it from her mouth herself when she talked about it on the Fresh Prince reunion, was Will painted her out to be difficult to work with. And the moment that happened, her opportunities dried up. And she said, because do you know how much hearing from somebody with a word of authority that a black woman is difficult to work with, do you know what that does? And she was like, especially when from my side, you didn't even let me tell my side of it. You simply let me take the heat and take that fall. And that's it. I was basically ostracized because Will Smith was the darling and she wasn't. And that's why he felt the way he did when he realized how much power there was in his statements back then.
And that's why he slapped Chris Rock afterwards, because he had to get that frustration out.
And there is a lot of power in this statement, and Like that's the big thing I have an issue with. You know, if this was all handled behind the scenes, the way pro wrestling, the way anything is handled behind the scenes, it'd be one thing if all this was leaking, and it did leak, right? Like Sean reported on it because Sean is a good backstage reporter. He gets that kind of information. You know, Mike Johnson is a great reporter at that kind of stuff as well. And I feel like that's kind of where that stuff could have stayed, because that stuff doesn't even have a whole lot of reach with the non-online people. And when I say that, obviously everybody's online, but there's a lot of people in the audiences. I see it all the time every time I go to a wrestling show, of people who just don't follow that kind of stuff. Wouldn't have even known. It would have just been like even if they had just put on WWE.com, Sasha Banks, Naomi suspended, probably wouldn't have gone terribly far with the larger WWE audience. But you had to do it on TV. You had to make sure that those words got out there. Yeah, Michael Cole make a statement. You had to tell everybody that they've been suspended. WWE has literally never announced a suspension on television. Roman Reigns was WWE champion, got suspended for wellness violation. You didn't bring that up on screen, not till it was needed for storylines. But at the time, Roman was just gone, and we just didn't talk about it. And I feel like that's how they could have handled it.
Right. Yeah, and I saw a story yesterday. You asked what was going to happen eventually with these people. Not a story, but some tweets about Sasha Banks and Naomi never going to AEW. You guys know zero about Sasha Banks and how much she loves fucking pro wrestling. When she was out before, she was in Japan training to become a better pro wrestler. Like, this isn't like Sasha's probably on her way to going Hollywood and being an actress, but at the core of it, she fucking loves pro wrestling. So she's going to do whatever she is to pro wrestling. This whole thing is based off of that. She's mad because she wanted to have great pro wrestling storylines and matches and help and aid in being a pro wrestler. She's mad because she wants to pro wrestle. So what do you think she's going to do after this? She's not going to give it up. She's not going to be like, oh, they killed my dream forever, I'm out of here. No, she's going to keep doing that dream. She's doing this for the betterment of pro wrestling. So
I don't think anybody knows as far as that's concerned. I think it's kind of weird to even make a declarative statement any way, shape, in any way other than see what happens. Because if you had asked me a year ago, I probably would have made a declarative statement of, oh yeah, Cody's not going back to WWE. Are you crazy? Like that don't even sound right. Even though, shout out to the people who informed me of that 2 years ago, who were like, hey, I think Cody's going to end up back in WWE. And I mentioned that on this show, that I had heard that. And I shrugged it off and texted that person like, damn, how the hell did you call that? But again, it's one of those things where in this industry, you can never say never, because I am of the belief that anything can happen and will happen. Like, period. There's, they said Ultimate Warrior wasn't going to come back. He came back and he died. That's how hardcore this is. That's my stance on things. I am never willing to count any possibilities out in pro wrestling till somebody's in the ground. That is the only way that something ain't actually going to happen. And even then, there's pieces of me that are like, what if Eddie did come back? Right. No, they like, holograms and shit. Like, they make it wrestling happen. Is such a crazy sport where just so much happens. And I think anybody who is willing to say that something's just never going to happen, crazy. You're crazy. Especially, you've watched the last year should tell you anything can and probably will happen.
Yeah, I mean,
CM Punk sat here and said, I'm never, ever, ever coming back.
Bro,
never,
for
ever.
So long was like, no, I'm not. Yeah. Stop asking me. Stop talking to me. And we see him every Wednesday.
That man wrestles every week.
Man, those people that are like, she would never go anywhere else, clearly they don't feel that way, because then they would have just released her when she asked for her release in 2019. Right. They know she would go somewhere else, and they know she would kill it. Yeah. I just really feel that in my gut. They know that she would be a game changer for another company. And I think we all kind of know that. Her in that women's division in AEW, she would be a game changer. And I just feel like a lot of this is clearly aimed at Sasha more than anything. And it's just, that's not to say that Naomi is not taking the wrath of this as well, but it's so much of it that feels like it's aimed directly at Sasha.
I think a big piece of why that is, though, is that Sasha is historically more vocal. She is a vocal person. So it has come down to, over the last few years, people have felt like, well, you never really hear much from Naomi as far as taking umbrage with creative, but you have heard that from Sasha. So that's, and that's
they could just put it all on Sasha. Like, she's always done this. It's her.
Yeah,
and
I think
that's why Cameron was straight up like, well, obviously, I know my girl wouldn't have done that, so this has got to be a Sasha thing. And like,
that was nasty. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what makes me a little bit more upset with some of the stuff on Naomi's behalf, because Naomi's kind of like the Obama of wrestlers. Like, she's just not going to say anything negative. She's always going to stay upbeat, even if she's getting like a whole bunch of negative stuff in her mentions or people are being racist. And I'm sure she's experienced a lot of stuff in this industry that she just doesn't talk about. She's always like, nope, I'm here to do a job. I'm going to stay positive. I'm only going to say so much. And so to throw all that on her and call her, of all people, unprofessional is just ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Like, of any people in the world to call unprofessional, Naomi is not that.
Like, she came to work for you guys. Anytime you guys wanted her to do something, this situation, it changed because she's tired of you doing all your bullshit. Like, of course, she can't keep taking it forever, but she's been on the front lines for y'all everywhere. She went to fucking Saudi Arabia. She's done everything you guys have asked her for. And to say she's unprofessional because of this stupid ass moment is insane. On TV, it's just like, that's crazy. I think that's the main thing, is like, disrespecting these black women has gotten to stop, and you can't put this difficult thing on them like they try to put on any black woman that speaks up for herself. It's just not fair. It's bullshit, and you know what you're doing up there, you sons of bitches.
I'll say this. I have always felt for years that Trinity Fatu is a way better name than Naomi. And
Trinity Fatu is a badass name. Trinity in general is just a badass name.
I think there's always been all this talk of what Total Divas did for women's fandom in pro wrestling. Total Divas fans know her as Trinity, because she wasn't Naomi on that show, because that ain't her name. I remember, I've told the story before, but I sat next to a fan at a show one time who was a Total Divas fan, and that's why they bought tickets. They didn't watch Raw or SmackDown. And when Naomi came out, they're like, "Oh, Trinity!" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, because I didn't watch Total Divas, so I'm like, that's Naomi. But like, I guess I know that because it's a real name. But
look, I wouldn't be mad to see Naomi with the gloves off. We never seen her do. These are, we've seen her entire career has been in a WWE career. Everything we've ever seen as her as a wrestler has been inside WWE. So like, I mean, if she went somewhere else, I'd be kind of interested to see how it went,
Yeah, they've never really given her a due. And I think the other thing that makes all of this crazy, and I talked about this in an article I wrote this week, is that they were everywhere. It's not like they were tag team champions and it was like, all right, well, what do we do next? Like, no, Sasha was everywhere for a full month. She was doing all this outside media stuff. Naomi had just done the interview with Rosenberg for Hot 97. They were out here. And so name another woman on that roster that was as visible outside of the company as them. Maybe Becky, because she did the boxing weigh-in, but she did that with Bianca. And that's why I'm like, all the people that are visible right now are Naomi, Sasha, and Bianca. And to take two of those people that are visible and go, we don't have plans for you as a tag team, makes absolutely no sense. And then to go further than, we don't have plans for you as a tag team, no, we're absolutely going to try and bury you and diminish your star power. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's counterproductive, and it doesn't do anything for them as a company.
And the bigger thing here too is that I think the last 20 years resulted in a lot of this boldness kind of being lost. That when WCW and WWF were truly, the Monday Night War was at its height, it's talked about kind of in a negative light, but one of the things that wrestlers had was pull. You had to keep the wrestlers happy because they were going to jump to the other company. And so there was a lot of, the phrases, that doesn't work for me, brother. But a big piece of that was that, you had to keep the wrestlers happy for the longest time. And then when WCW disappeared, what the wrestlers kind of lost was their leverage. And that's where a lot of the creative stuff got in the position it got into, right? Because there wasn't really a position for wrestlers to stand up for themselves creatively, because it's like, what the fuck else am I going to do? I'm at the top of the industry. I'm in the biggest company I could be in. I'm making the most money I'm going to make. And any place else I go is going to be a dramatic step down.
Yep.
What do I do? And it's like, so for a long time, this culture got created over the last 20 years of you don't say anything. You absolutely stick with what creative has for you. And, we heard that message from John Cena all the time of when people would ask, hey, John Cena, why do you do these whack storylines sometimes? And John Cena said, this is WWE and you do what you're supposed to do. And you ride for the company. But, like, the culture's changed this last 3 years. You can make money now. And you can get clout now. And it's like it can work in so many different ways that there does need to be more of a culture, I think, of wrestlers standing up for certain things creatively and standing up against certain things creatively. Because as an outside viewer who's not just backstage, just looking at the grand scheme of things, I agree with what Sasha was feeling about that.
Yep.
It's like
people have said online their complaints are the same complaints that Sasha and Naomi apparently had.
What sense would that have made? Naomi's not even on Raw. Right. You don't have anybody on Raw that could have challenged for the Raw Women's Championship. Like I said, I have an issue with the brand split right now because you're half-assing it right now. And this is another time where it's being half-assed, where it's like, we don't have any challengers that we're ready to have lose to Bianca, so we're going to pull somebody from SmackDown to do it. No, that's not how this shit is supposed to work. You have rosters for a reason, and you were about to pull somebody from the other roster to do it. When what those two were supposed to be trying to do was establish themselves as a tag team. But look, I'm sure Sasha's also fed up too. This woman has also spent the last 4 years trying to get these tag team titles to matter. That she fought to even get their existence and came in and her and Bayley were the first tag team champions. They had fought to even get the tag team titles to exist. They got them. And obviously they had problems with the creative and taking them off of them. And it's like these tag team titles have had so much bouncing around and so much shit where they keep destroying the division. I keep looking at the WrestleMania graphics for each tag team title match, and each year I look at it like the tag teams who were in last year's women's tag team title match don't even exist anymore. Every year this keeps happening. Obviously they want it to be a thing, and I can also just see getting fed up with it of like, look, you made the promise again this year, and this is like third time's a charm. I'm done with this.
And stop asking me to do you favors to get Ronda over. Let's get to the shits with that. Mm-hmm. You have been putting your women's division on hold for Ronda for almost 3 years.
Yep.
Longer than 3 years.
4. She debuted in 2018, beginning of 2018.
Female Brock Lesnar.
So you had Sasha put Ronda over at Royal Rumble, right? Sasha was possibly the most talked about wrestler at Royal Rumble this year. And she still needed to lose so Ronda could come in and win, right? She didn't get her match with with Charlotte at WrestleMania, so Ronda could get her match that nobody cared about. And now, now that Charlotte's gone, all right, we need somebody again to give her a big win. We need a big star. Oh, Sasha, can you do this? No, because I am everywhere. Ronda's not everywhere. Ronda's not doing mainstream outlets right now. Ronda is not hitting right now. Why am I putting her over? And I mean, that's not a knock at Ronda personally, but from a business point of view, why does that make sense? You're still trying to get us to get Ronda over. Ronda's not clicking, fam. Like, change what you're doing with her.
And not just that, though. I'm sure, because I also feel like, from Sasha's perspective, maybe she wouldn't have a problem with putting Ronda over.
She might have,
but not while I'm also doing something that I'm actively trying to get
That's
over.
going to diminish my title if I put that over.
It ain't even that you're trying to put something else over. I'm a champion. Respect the fact that I'm a champion.
Yeah.
I am a champion, and you're still asking me to do favors for y'all for Ronda.
Yeah.
What sense does that make?
Like, I'm sorry. I am with the wrestlers in this regard simply because I feel like I want people to stand up against bad creative, and that's in any company. If you personally feel that something is going to be ineffective to your career, and you can see it beforehand. You can see what's going to happen. And you are somebody who traditionally has been carrying things. Sasha in the last 3 years has elevated her stock so much. She is a star in every regard. And to not, like, the fact that you could sell tickets to these Boston events and simply sell them on the idea that Sasha's going to be here. That's a star.
Sasha is the draw, and that's the point I'm making. And don't get me wrong, I don't want anybody to read this like I'm saying that Sasha might have a problem with Ronda. I don't think that. This is me personally saying I have a problem with you constantly asking her to put Ronda over. No. Why is she still putting Ronda over at this point when she's the hottest act right now?
Right.
She's a hotter act than Ronda. Why is she putting her over? That doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, Bianca and Naomi were getting over as a tag team. Like, I don't know. But I feel like we've exhausted as much as we can exhaust on this topic. Let's leave it to the floor because there's
Sasha Banks, the greatest WWE women's wrestler of all time, and she'll always have that. So thank you.
We are going to basically, just because of time now, we're going to wrap the show on basically a lot of the super chats and humper chats we got, and we'll discuss what comes out of those. SJ just says, I'm pressed to WWE.
A lot of people are.
They're annoying. They're an annoying company, man.
The most annoying.
And D-Lo Dig says, sup fellas, and my Marshawn Lynch, I'm just here so I won't get fined. Yep. So here's my number chat. Thinking about humper chat. Also, I remember when MJ died, I was in the middle of listening to Human Nature. Damn.
Man. Shout out to D-Lo.
One Sweet Chris says, hope the Grapsody boys are having a wonderful day. When are we getting more Grapsody merch? That's a good question.
That's a great question, actually.
We should look into some more merch.
That is a great question. Soon.
And Van Twinblade says, instead of spending $10 on this post, I'll just link to the Reddit post I made. Fuck the Fed. And sent a link to the Reddit post.
Reddit, baby. You know I'm going to read it.
Yes. And it's got the Glory Pro card. So I will read the Reddit post off your with the Glory Pro card. With the marquee match, Eddie Kingston versus Davey Richards. Mike Outlaw versus Warhorse for the Crown of Glory title. Rohit Raju continues his bastardly ways against Laney Luck. The team of Alpha Omega take on the reuniting team of Jordan Oliver and Myron Reed.
Ooh, Injustice, my homies.
Midwest Territory Champion Tootie Lynn takes on Shazza McKenzie.
Shazza's out here. She's everywhere. And shout out to Tootie Lynn. She's having a great run.
Dan the Dad versus Cody Lane in a ladder match for the deed to Dan's house.
Wow.
Okay. Okay, I like it.
Hey, for real though, check out Glory Pro.
Yeah, no, for real. Glory Pro's doing some amazing things. Every time they have a card, it's fire. All those wrestlers are amazing. Rohit's going to be amazing. He's amazing in them intergender matches, so that should be a great match.
Yep. Lizzie Som sent us a humper chat. Says, I am a 69, year old white woman. Said, been watching wrestling since the early 70s. Just wanted to tell you that I am still learning from Grapsody.
Wow, that's crazy. That's amazing. Wow, that is amazing. Thank you, Lindsay. That's super cool. Yeah, you've seen all Lizzie. Thank you, Lizzie. You've seen all the. If you've been watching wrestling for that long, you've seen.
Yeah, she said Blassie and Tolos was who she started with. So.
Wow. Wow.
Shout out, Lizzie.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for the humper chat.
69-year-olds watching us.
Yeah, nice. Let's see, Lonzo.
Shout out to my older ladies. I love them. I know some
says I am so pumped for next week. You think he's joking, by the way? It's real. It's real. I am so pumped for next weekend. First time going to Vegas for Double or Nothing weekend. Flying in from Baltimore. It's about to be lit AF. Shout out to Grapsody Boys. Hey,
Vegas is gonna be crazy. I have to give a shout out to Violence and Suffering Wrestling. They're having a show next Thursday night. They have an incredible card. They're going to be in Vegas. A lot of things are happening in Vegas. If you're going to be in Vegas and you want to see something beyond the amazing things that AEW is going to do, there's a lot of GCWs there. Suffering Wrestling is there. Future Stars of Wrestling is there. Find you some great wrestling to watch.
Chris Bay is.
My wife's never been to an indie show,
Vegas,
so
buddy.
My wife's never been to an indie show, so she's
coming. That's awesome. There's a lot of great. Phil mentioned Chris Bay. He's home in Las Vegas, so
he's
bro.
gonna be. He's got a lot of matches going that weekend.
Yeah.
ShotKid29 says, I know there's been Hollywood talk, but I don't see Sasha leaving wrestling entirely if she got out of WWE. You don't just go train in Japan just on a lark. Like, no, she's a wrestling fan. Like, I don't think...
She's not a just WWE fan. She worked her whole career to get to WWE, but she loves pro wrestling.
Like, just out of curiosity. Outside, like, I feel like the examples people think exist are kind of the exceptions and not the rules. Like, who has truly walked away from pro wrestling after having a major career in it?
People that didn't really see wrestling as a future to begin with. They just wanted to see wrestling as a stop for
who
now.
Is that? Like,
I
who
mean,
just walked away from wrestling like that? Besides The Rock, like he's
like
the
I was
exception.
gonna say, Goldberg felt like that, but he's been back a million times. He always comes back.
He might still have matches. Goldberg ain't done. Like,
yeah,
it's rare.
Yeah, that is a good question. I don't know. I mean,
like I feel like people keep saying this like it's a normal thing of like, oh no, she's gonna leave wrestling forever and not come back. Who's done that?
No one has.
I mean, it depends on, of course, because some people, you also have to equate for, father time comes for all of us, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And she could have injuries that we don't know about, but I don't know if that's the case. I mean, I feel like if that was the case, then
that's what we'd hear. But like,
that's what we hear. But I feel like people that are just like, oh, she's done after a certain amount of time. She's Hollywood, baby. Like, even if she is, I feel like she's gonna work a certain schedule.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I
wrestling's
mean,
gonna be in there somehow.
I have not seen that. Like, you have to keep in mind, The Rock is the exception to every rule. That guy came in and
but then he has a TV show called Young Rock. Like, wrestling's forever. You know what I mean? Like, you can't get away from this shit.
Come on, man. Roman Rock, buddy.
And like, nobody else has gone from pro wrestling to becoming the highest paid actor in Hollywood except for The Rock. Nobody else has done that. So like, nobody's walked away from wrestling like that. Don't say that. Like, that's not a thing. That's not normal. That's not you can't.
You haven't been to a wrestling convention. Wrestlers are in this shit till they die, bro.
I know. The fact
from the
that
top
again,
to the bottom.
Ric Flair is about to have a match.
Ric Flair's having a match.
Nobody leaves pro wrestling, man. Like, this is
we don't want it, bro. We don't want it.
Please keep it, Flair. Don't
keep it, buddy.
I don't want. We
Steamboat was like, nah, not me.
Yeah,
bro.
Steamboat was like, yo, hey, don't quit calling here, bro. I'm not trying to do that.
Listen, bro, I retired, bro. Leave me alone.
Yeah,
one more payday, bro. The glory.
All I'm saying is, for those who have had major careers in it and did it because they had a love for it, show me proof. Tom LaValle, says women's match quality has definitely been up recently since Kenny Omega has come back to produce. I'm here for it. Get these women on TV. Hey, I'm telling you, them showcase 4-ways. I want to see them again.
Shout out to the cleaner, man. Hey, I just noticed certain matches have got back on TV. You are getting things like Serena getting the promo in ring. I know people were saying it was rough, but we do need more in-ring promos for the women on AEW. That's a good thing.
Shot Kid also says, I tell everyone pro hockey live is one of the best live sports experiences you can have. I can kind of agree with that, but I can only do like super aggressive drunk white people so much. And I went to a hockey game in the last 3 years, and it was like, these dudes are fucking serious, man, and they are like drunk and ready to fight like everybody else. Like, I don't know how I feel here right now. Yes. It says the kinetic and physical play is easy to get into in person. It was easy to get into the game. I went to a game back in 2019. And
live sports are always fun, man. It doesn't. No.
But let's see what else we got. Continuing on. Next one is from Bridget. It says, I have learned so much from y'all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are being amazing today, man. Yeah. We're just, we're enjoying it.
Van Twinblade says, leave a thumbs up, you filthy marks. I do agree. Leave a thumbs up. Always leave a thumbs up,
you guys. Yeah.
Thumbs up. Please, if you haven't thought about doing so. Here's some bucks for Megazords. Shout out to my dude. Yes, I collect Megazords.
Shout out to Austin, man.
As I pointed out. Ready? Right there. There's Falcon Zord. And right there's
PPP
a
loan. Speaking of Bucks, Young Bucks and fucking Hardys,
Yep.
bro, and Double or Nothing. Whoa.
that's a Dragon Zord right there, and I also have the Ninja Megazord back there as well. So I am a big kid, and luckily I don't have to meet any new ladies at this stage of my life.
How do you explain all the stuffs?
Nah, luckily this was like once my wife and I moved in together, then I was like, hey, so listen. I got stuff.
It's gonna look crazy in there. I'm just telling you that.
Luckily, the funny thing is when we got together, the only belt I had was this one, and then the belt collection grew as time went on. But that was the only one I had,
bro.
And I only had one poster, and now I got a fucking arcade.
I am a super dork. I always say Dragon Caesar just because it sounds like a cooler name. After I saw Super Sentai, I'm like, this Dragon Caesar just sounds like a cooler name than Dragon Zord.
I love Super Sentai. It's a great series.
I don't know what,
but specifically,
about. What I don't know.
Super
what
Sentai is what
it's Japanese
Power
Power
Rangers.
Rangers.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
Z Ranger was the name of the Japanese version of Mighty Morphin.
PPP loans all out here, y'all.
Yes.
Austin
it.
out in these PP streets, bro.
Shout out Grapsody from AJ Dwayne.
These PP streets is wild.
Orion Ben says, I appreciate that Naomi and Sasha want to build up the tag titles, but it's time to say that the titles are cursed. Sasha and Bailey, Iconics, now this.
Yeah, pretty much. They are cursed at this point.
I mean, cursed would imply that, like, something natural is happening to them and not, like, negligence.
Yeah.
So I can't just, like, say it's cursed.
Yeah.
And also said, now about the statement, unprofessional by the WWE, and left the door open for those racists in the weeds to take
That's all they
aim
did. You
at
can't give
Sasha
your
and Naomi.
fans, you can't give them fans any room
Ammo.
for
You're giving it
anything.
to them.
Anytime you give them ammo, they're gonna use it, bro. So don't.
Yeah. Nathan DePaul said McAfee looked like he wanted no part of that nonsense.
I watched that video where they zoomed in on Pat's side, and he's just like,
Hilarious,
when
bro. Yeah.
Michael Cole says millions were disappointed, he's like, what?
Pat's face said everything. That was classic.
Yeah, I loved it.
Board Dude 360 says, how can they have a tournament with no teams? I'm
That's a
telling you, they are going to call up
question.
Toxic Attraction.
There's still only 4 teams. What, are they gonna do a 4-team tournament at this point?
I mean,
Yes.
at this point, they should just put Rhea and Raquel together. They've always wanted to be a tag team anyway. I don't know why they won't just do it.
Purple stuff. That's
Come
why.
on. Nobody cares about that edge stuff.
Purple stuff.
Let's see. We got another one from Zachary. Says, have you seen Sasha Banks on Cold as Balls? Yes.
Yeah. It was
Again,
Sasha's out here.
She out here. Outsider Kid 93 says WWE putting that statement out to me is unprofessional. That's like
what
my
they
job.
don't
That's like my job putting me on blast after I walk out. It wouldn't happen. And we
You're
talked
the
about
one
that.
being unprofessional. How do you
We
not
talked
get
about that
this?
earlier this year. We talked about that when I equated what Tony did with Big Swole to essentially Walmart responding to a Glassdoor review. Like you are the powers that be. Like you don't have to do that because at that point you're always going to be fine. But what you're doing here is making sure that the talent isn't going to be, and you don't have to do that. Nope. It's the exact same thing I said with Tony at the beginning of the year. WWE putting that statement. Oh, you said that. We read that one already. Let's see, Kyrian George says, wonder what Booker T thinks of this Sasha and Naomi situation.
Kyrian,
Chuckles.
stop it.
No, he said he's waiting for their side of the story. That's what he said.
I feel like we got it from that Twitter story. Dante
Super
V says,
interesting.
Naomi's booking is trash. All I know from the
is.
last major feud she was in is that Sonya's character is racist for no reason. It didn't help.
Yeah,
either
what
of them.
was that? Like, how do you like? That's what I'm
The
talking
match
about. What
was
just
dope,
happened?
but,
Yeah, the matches,
yeah.
but leading up to it was just awful.
Yeah,
waffle.
it lasted too long. And it should have. If it was to get us sympathetic of Naomi, it needs to have a payoff to it, which should
Exactly.
have been a title match or something. Instead, what did she do? She helped Ronda because that's what everyone is here for, is to help Ronda.
iChurch Pastor Blaster says, hey fam, just showing some love, blessings. Thank you so much. We always appreciate that.
Appreciate it, everybody. Today, y'all
Yes.
have been great.
Yeah. Especially Jennifer.
Especially Jennifer. Money, 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 money. Appreciate it.
I hope all of that gets squared away for real,
definitely.
Yeah. We'll not take that as that wasn't intended.
No way.
No,
Nah.
we will.
Unless you're gonna do it.
Yeah. Graham B says WWE is trash, and you comment heroes can sit down.
Yeah, you comment heroes, you Vincents.
Comment heroes. What y'all out here doing? Y'all in the
Bozo
comments acting
Banks
crazy?
says Becky and Charlotte can throw titles at each other in the main event. Brock can throw your title in your face, yet
In
this
your
is what sets you
face.
off. We didn't even find out about Brock throwing the title and that was on film. We didn't hear about that till
Bro, he was just like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow, Brock. Nothing.
The funniest thing every time I watch that is just Seth in the corner looking like, that's your man? And he's just looking around like, cool, you cool with that?
Yeah. He was cool with
And Jesus Garcia says, been listening to you guys since the first episode. Love your work at Grapsody and beyond. Keep doing what y'all do. Thanks you so
Jesus.
much.
Appreciate you.
It. It's been a long
and
time.
We got, let's see.
Shouldn't have left you.
Jacob says, starting late, shout out Graps Saturday. Will with the Astro Megazord. When y'all start the Power Rangers podcast, we need to talk about Time Force. Power Rangers. Let's see, we got
We could talk about the SNES Power Rangers game. I'd fuck with that.
Which one, the movie game or the
original? Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if I ever played the movie.
I was a big
one.
fan of the movie game.
Yeah, I have both movie games, the one on Genesis and the one on why'd you just let me sing the melody to Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, not Time Force?
Nah, man,
bad.
Homes from Lightspeed came and arrested Austin out here with these PPP loans. Yo, I gotta stop.
I had to
fire that homeboy off.
Hey, no, I had the joke yesterday on As Told By, because they said 16. They said they brought in 16 FBI agents. I said, man,
Yo,
did they think he was gonna
They
like
was
more
serious, bro.
Was he gonna like take them out like putties with it?
man, he's like 16 of them. It's morphing. So they're like, yo, that does not work here, bro. Get in the car.
They thought he was about to hop out with the blasters and everything, bro.
Damn,
They
brought
said
the
16
squad.
agents showed up to his house.
Wow.
He catching all his trades this episode.
The big bro was really out here.
They
I
said
thought Rocky was a better Red Ranger
Yeah,
anyway.
He's like,
they-
yo, these checks ain't showing up like they used to. So I
They
need
sent the
these other
putty
checks
patrol,
to show
man.
up.
They let's see, MJ said, and when Sasha and Bailey had their first title run, WWE were trying to say they were backstage crying and throwing tantrums. Well, somebody who works in WWE now, or works WWE adjacent, said that. Phantom, Charlotte and Nia had a shoot fight in the middle of a match. Something actually unprofessional, also really dangerous. No statement.
Nothing.
What is this Nia match that's happening overseas? She's like wrestling secret.
Hey, that whole show was like
Control
what
your
is that?
narrative, UK. Yeah, we don't. Fuck
Nah,
with
I mean,
Control Your
honestly,
Narrative,
shout
UK.
out to AOP for putting that on and like, what? Where are they suddenly getting like Jonathan Coachman's commentating? Like, what is this
going on?
show?
I swear it looks like somebody's E-Fed.
Yeah. Numlock says, you guys check out Mark Henry going off on Corey Graves on Busted Open yesterday.
We didn't.
No,
I didn't, at least.
didn't
I
get to hear that.
I mean,
Uh-uh.
Corey's going to take a lot
Although
of shots
I'm
from
still,
this.
as I've mentioned, I'm still in the process of trying to cancel my Sirius XM, which they make incredibly difficult. So I probably could have listened to it.
Yeah, I mean,
I even
Corey's
got the
gonna
wrong. I even got the wrong department when I called Sirius, and I was like, "Look, I just want to cancel," and they
I
were
don't
like,
know
"Oh,
if any
you
of the,
actually have to call this number."
with the Corey Graves thing. It's not Corey's fault. Corey Graves shouldn't be getting blamed for anything. He's
It's
just
not
a
his
fucking
fault, but I will
speaker.
say this on Corey. Corey has not helped himself because he said other things on.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't
on
help-
commentary
yeah,
about
you're
black
right,
wrestlers, and
right.
so it looks like he, as a person, is saying these things.
Okay, yeah, that
but
does
they've
make
absolutely put him in a bad spot.
They did.
The N and the H says, spending some money. I knew y'all were gonna spend the whole show talking about Sasha and Naomi. Appreciate what you do. Screw WWE.
Fuck him.
Hey,
Thank
man, if you're gonna say that, you gotta stop watching, man. I don't know, man. At some point, you gotta pull a cord and stop watching, bro.
That's it.
Best way to speak is with your dollars.
Yeah, I didn't even know about this until after the fact because I was not watching Raw. I don't watch Raw. Sorry.
Brent Lockman says, in at the buzzer again. What's one match you want at Forbidden
In at
Door?
the buzzer.
Keep up the amazing work and have a great week.
Either
Well-
Punk and Kenta or an Okada and Bryan Danielson. or like either one of those.
I mean, we finally have to get the Moxley match. It finally has to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he set the table for it again at Capital Collision.
Right.
It's probably going to happen, but I absolutely want, as a Chicagoan, CM Punk versus Okada. Please just give me that match.
It's hot. It's hot.
And let's see, Drew says, I think Michael Cole is more let down. He doesn't get the scream. It's boss time.
That's why he was let down for real. He was like, nah, see, man, I'm sick of her, man. She keeps doing this to us every time. I'm sick of this. And
Right.
That's why Pat was like, us. Like, wait a minute. I'm not saying that on commentary. That's you, bro.
Right.
Chris says, not saying WWE hates black women, but it seems like they don't like them. Maybe they should fix their attitudes.
I mean, they have a history with black women that's kind of,
It's shaky.
It's real shaky. I mean, and I know some people are going to go, but Bianca's champion.
We didn't forget about
Look,
SummerSlam. We didn't forget about
Bianca-
SummerSlam.
Bianca is an undeniable talent. She is one of those people where if you fail with Bianca, you have to try.
Right.
Because
if you put her on
She was one of
TV,
those
she's
people-
gonna shine no matter what.
she is one of those people that the first time I ever saw her, it was like, oh, you have a star on your hands. Okay. It's a matter of what do you do with that.
It's like Jade. Put Jade on TV, and you're just like, wow, she does it. She's doing it every time. So yeah.
Let's see. Board Dude 360 said, "Power Rangers roar!" Here for Dino Thunder, Tommy. Hey, Dino Thunder.
That's funny. Dino Thunder was fire.
Dino Thunder had no reason to be as good as it was, and Dino Thunder is just an amazing show. But hey, thank you for being a part of Grapsody this week.
Don't leave out your boy Jonathan.
Y'all are still
Oh,
sending
we got-
super chats, you guys.
Thank
It's
you.
never
Super
ending.
chats.
We loving it here.
He said, so Austin St. John is a dude who played a dude who was another dude disguised as another dude.
How about this? I didn't know his real name was Jason all this time.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
wow.
That his real name is Jason. He changed it to Austin St. John. Damn, a bunch just see.
They were like, y'all not going nowhere.
Says, Raquel and Rhea were a great tag team on the NXT loop.
Seems
They
like
were,
they believe in Raquel, so yeah. I mean,
And they want to tag together, so they should allow them to do it.
Jake Salazar said, they're still coming. Thank you. Jake Salazar says, it's not just black women, it's black people in general.
look at
From
how
I'm
many
looking
there
at it.
is up there, dude.
It says, apparently Naomi and Sasha have been removed from the Then Now Forever animation.
It's
before
not
the show.
then, now, and forever. I guess they're out of here.
Man, ain't forever, I
Hey,
guess.
yeah, the together is
Come on, man.
the
Said
part
it was
that's not
forever,
working.
then said goodbye.
I gotta take a look at that. I didn't notice because and normally I do pay a lot of attention to that stuff. Let's see, and BJ Darden says, "Man, we discussed this issue on my show. What do you think the Bloodline shoot influence will do to help Naomi in this heat?"
I don't think anything, honestly.
Listen,
think
I
that's
don't
gonna play a
understand
role.
this get Naomi in the bloodline thing that's been going on for a year. I don't think it's happening, guys. I know
think so
everybody
either.
keeps saying they want to see it, but I don't get the appeal
It's
of it.
not. Yeah. I don't think Roman being the top guy it has anything to do with what Naomi has going on, honestly.
Y'all think Roman just walked in there and was like, "Fix it"? Like,
Yeah, no.
It's just then now, huh? Yeah.
It's just then.
All right, you guys, I gotta go pick up my kid from a birthday party. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with
crap, you
us
set.
on this edition of Grapsody. Thank you for spending your Saturday with us. I always love spending my Saturday with these guys and everybody in the chat and everybody who donated their humper chats and super chats. Grapsody is my favorite part of the week, and it will continue to be next week when we're in Las Vegas.
Hey,
So
your boys will be in Sin City, and again, if
have you
think-
figured out how you're getting there?
Yeah, of course. What do you mean?
Okay.
All
right.
I'm
Look,
just gonna
last
run.
week-
I'm gonna run like Carl Lewis. I'm just gonna run straight from Chicago to Las Vegas.
It's a far run.
Hey.
You better start running.
Las Vegas was the I mean, last week we were talking about you didn't have it figured out yet. So long as we're good, you're good. And Jake says Reg and Phil can stay in LMAO. All right, you guys.
No,
We're gone, dude.
we never do it without our guy, bro.
Never.
We will see you next time. Have a great day.
Peace.